So you have amazing ways, top 10 tips actually, on how to become more creative in your life. I was wondering if you could share a few of those. And if you'd like to share all 10, you're more than welcome
Sure.
to, but just a few that you really think would be beneficial to people just starting out getting more
Yeah.
creative in their lives.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think this really applies to anyone, whether you're an entrepreneur or an executive or really just working in your career, whoever you are. I think creativity is really one of those things that's considered the most important skill. And it's something that will always, I think, be the most important skill. We always talk about the things that make us human and what especially now with the advancements with AI and yada yada, uh, human creativity is always going to be the thing that drives everything. And that's that's not going to change. So some of the tips I like to give, number one, I like to always say keep your day job. Uh, I say that to my management clients as well, because the truth is that, um, you know, it's a really hard, in my line of work, but really any line of work, when you're being creative, you want to have that base. You want to have something to stand on to keep you feeling comfortable so that you have that time to work on the creative that you want to work on or to be creative. I I like to say that there's this famous documentarian that I had the good fortune to work with named Errol Morris, who did films that are Oscar winning, like The Fog of War and Thin Blue Line, and he directs KFC commercials for his day job. So, everybody has them, and that sense of stability, I think, is really important. Uh,
Like, I,
the
yeah.
yeah, the second one, I really encourage people to step outside your comfort zone.
Mhm.
This is something that you have to do to grow. I think that it's important that you try new things, you push yourself, you push your boundaries of what you're capable of. And it goes back to what we were talking about before about imposter syndrome. That's okay. That may take over, but you can do it anyway. Just do it anyway. And once you do it, then you've done it. And it's going to be a lot easier to do the next time. And you'll have grown, you'll have learned so much for doing it. I was fortunate to work on a campaign where it was really my first major creative directing project. You mentioned a little bit earlier, Japan Airlines. I was asked to come up with an idea that would help them to reach business travelers globally outside of Japan because they had zero awareness really
Mm.
outside of the country. Excuse me. And I thought about it, and their philosophy really is omotenashi, and that translates roughly to the idea of hospitality centered around the care of others. And it's really a idea or concept that's truly Japanese, and it's countrywide. It's not just the airline, but really being of service to others. And so taking that idea, that concept, I thought about, well, what could the airline do to really spread that message, that philosophy? And so I came up with the idea to to work with this I wanted to create the world's largest artwork to spread a message. And I won't tell you what the message is yet because it's kind of fun when it ends up happening. But I happened to come across this artist, which is kind of incredible. It just happened to be able to do what I was hoping could be done. And he's a GPS artist named Yasan. And basically, back before our campaign, he traveled all across Japan by foot, by train, by bus. He tracked his GPS data, uploaded it to Google Maps, and it spelled out the words "marry me" across all of Japan. And that's how he proposed to his girlfriend at the time, which is just brilliant and put every other proposal to shame. So fortunately, she said yes. And cut to a few years later, we actually asked him to break his world record that he set 14 times over to travel, this time across 6 continents to 34 stops worldwide. And he basically flew on Japan Airlines and One World Partner flights, tracked his GPS data, and met with people in each place who pushed a button on his phone to activate the next leg of his journey. And so they were all helping him to create this global artwork. And what it did is it's when he uploaded it to Google Maps, it spelled out the word peace. So it was actually peace on earth. That was the campaign that we released during the holiday season. And we documented the whole journey.
That's so
So
cool.
we had no idea if it was going to work. We had no idea if you know anything went wrong, the campaign would have been over. But we really stepped outside our comfort zone to try to make it work, and somehow we pulled it off. And so
Amazing.
that was something that, you know, if I didn't really just try and go for it, we would have never been able to do it. So that's when it's just go for it. If you have an idea, just go for it, you know.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. So
Amazing.
that's one of my tips. You want me to keep going? I have more.
Yeah, let's do one more that you really
Okay.
think, I'm thinking about my working professional listeners. Like I love that you remind people not to quit your day job and to get outside of your comfort zone, because I think those two are really hard, especially for working professionals. But I'm just thinking about how a couple of my clients are like, I don't even know what I can do because I'm such an analytical person.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I recommend is make a creative habit. So this seems kind of counterintuitive in a way, but the more that you actually, what you do is you set aside a time, a place, and that's where you're going to be creative. And this is something I always recommend people do, no matter what it is. If it's dance, if it's art, if it's writing, if it's just coming up with ideas in your job, set aside that time and that place and be consistent. And initially, it's going to be really hard because that's just the way it is. Like every time when you're starting, it's like working out. The first time you work out, it sucks. It's hard. Um, but the more you do it, you create a habit. And what ends up happening, it's almost like the same way with working out, your muscles get stronger and it gets easier in a sense. Your brain actually adapts and your brain gets better at being creative. That's what's kind of amazing. You
Yeah.
know, as much as you may resist at first, then when you get to that point in your day when you set it aside, you actually get more excited. You look forward to that time. And then what also the benefit is that the rest of your day gets more enjoyable because you're actually looking forward to that time that you're going to be more creative. So making that creative habit, I think, is something that, you know, anyone can do very easily to actually improve their creativity.
Now, even though you've been, doing a bunch of creative things over the years, do you still have to set up time for yourself to honor, new creative habits?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually changed my way of working. I used to be a night person, but I started getting up early. And the reason I did that is because there's zero interruptions
Mhm.
and I'm waking up from a dream state. And it's just kind of that nice, quiet time in the morning without, you know, before the birds are even chirping. And it's that kind of magical hour just to let myself and my brain run free and be creative. So that's my time and my space before the day gets busy and then all interruptions, keep me from doing anything.